All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town. Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
What was that ruckus?
What ruckus?
I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Describe the ruckus, sir.
Does this mean we're not friends anymore? Not me. I'm in my prime.
Hey, Mike. Ain't it cool?
First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me. Blow. Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
What's up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on Mel Radio podcast with another movie review. This time doing 2025's A Working Man, starring Jason Statham, Jason Fleming, David Harbour, Michael Pena, as well as Ariana Rivas. Plot is Levin Cade left his profession behind to work construction and be a good dad to his daughter, but when a local girl vanishes, he's asked to return to the skills that made him a mythic figure in the shadowy world of counterterrorism. So yeah, basically from the makers this is directed by David Ayers, who also did The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, but they're not related in terms of characters, even though it would have been kind of cool if they were, but not a big deal. If you enjoyed The Beekeeper, in my opinion, you will enjoy this film a lot more, at least for me. I thought the story is a little bit more deeper than The Beekeeper and a little bit more grounded in a sense, but does have its fair share of problems. Shares some similarities to Liam Neeson's Taken, and in some ways Taken to me is a little bit better in some aspects, but for a Jason Statham movie, this is actually quite good, and I did really enjoy it more than The Beekeeper personally. So yeah, Statham plays Levon Cade, who's now working construction, and he works for Michael Pena's character, Joe Garcia, whose daughter, Jenny, played by Ariana Rivas, basically she's like celebrating a semester in college that she succeeded in passing. And during that partying and all that stuff, she's abducted by some Russians, the Russian mafia, basically, or at least portions of it. And of course, she knows, as well as Mr. Garcia, that Cade has like a past in like the military and counterterrorism and stuff like that, because he just has friends who've been in the military. So he says, I can see it in the eyes. I've seen your persona. So like, even though you didn't tell me this is what you used to do, I can just see it. And they really took a chance on Levon to allow him to, or Levin to basically work for them as a foreman for their construction company. So they are like a family. You know, Levin lost his wife due to suicide, to which the father of his wife, late wife, is the one that's kind of like sharing custody with the young girl that's his daughter. And the father doesn't really like Levon too much because he thinks he's just like a path to destruction as a person because of his past. And he kind of blames him for the wife's death, even though it's kind of explained that she already had depression issues like long before, Levin came into the picture. So there's tension there with that. But Jenny is abducted, and now he's initially offered money, like quite a bit of money, to go try to find her because they can't rely on the police to get it done. So obviously, he's got to go use his own resources to go and find the girl. So ends up just changes his mind. He talks to David Harbour's character, his name's Gunny, who he knows from the military, and saved Gunny's life at one point, but couldn't really save his eyesight per se. So Gunny's like, you didn't have to come here to ask me permission to do this. Like, you're going to do it anyway. And, just be careful. So he helps him out with some of the military weaponry and stuff that he still has stashed away. But so Levin begins his scouting on, where the girl was first taken. And he kind of like he starts just building up blocks. He's starts somewhere, tries to get some answers, many answers as he can to the next step, and then so on and so on. And we know Jason Fleming, who we've seen from, at least from what I remember, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He played Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in that film. Very wonderful actor. He plays one of the first Russian people that leaders that Statham's character comes in contact with, and you probably saw it in the trailer if you'd watched it. I'm not going to show any clips because it's still new. It just came out this week, and I don't know if I do like a clip that it might get tagged by YouTube or something. So I'm just not going to do that right now. But obviously, you see in the trailer, he's got him in a chair and he's holding him over the pool and trying to get him to answer questions about where the girl is. And so it's funny because a lot of the Russians that he's bumping into and taking out keep asking, like, well, is this girl worth it? And it's kind of like a dumb question to ask because, there's a portion what we find out, especially with Fleming's character, who his son is the one that's responsible for the trafficking, which he didn't know was going on. He knew that his son was kind of a rebellious son to him, and he's got him in trouble. So now even Fleming, who's playing Wolo, that the father of what is that dude's name? Is it? Pardon me, while I'm trying to remember who I forget his name. I don't think I can see it's listed, but the son who's responsible for the abduction. So Wolo is his dad, and so Wolo's upset, sitting there in this chair and being threatened with his life because his son did some stupid shit by taking a girl and trafficking, which is not really part of their normal business. They're usually just drug dealers and money launderers and weapons people. So the fact that his son is rebelling and doing these other extracurricular activities that are kind of harming and now got him in hot water, it's really pissing him off. And also pisses off another part of the Russian mafia. So it's very interesting how the inner workings of the Russian Brotherhood is dealing with this, because obviously as Levin Cade goes on and keeps killing, Russians, and then we run into this, I think there are a couple who aren't part of the mafia, but they're part of this other gang called the Demons, like a biker gang, and they run this bar called Hattie's. And those two are the ones that are kidnapping Jenny because they can get paid big bucks to give it to the Russian son, who's kind of like running this show. Which is also a no-no, because with the biker gang, they don't even know that they're involved with the Russians, which is not something they would normally do. So there's kind of like this back alley treaty stuff going on between the two of them to get more money or whatever. But yeah, so as we explore what's going on each time that Cade's like taking out these mafia kids, especially the younger ones, the sons and stuff, it pisses off another mafia boss who wants revenge. And so he's got this moment where he has asked the rest of the Brotherhood, like, I need help with this. Like, this guy killed my brother. He killed my sons. I need something to happen here. So one of the other mafia bosses sends two dudes that, are like basically hitmen, but they're like really out there. Like, they don't care about killing cops or anything, which, they're crazy, but it just begins to start unraveling. And even by the end of it, you're kind of like, you can see how the mafia deals with their own problems too. Action is great in this. It's a little bit of a slow burn compared to, The Beekeeper, which kind of like jumped right in. And one of the reasons why I do like this one more, even though it has similarities to Taken, is that, when you have someone who's captive, it means they're still alive to a certain point. Like you don't know if they're going to make it all the way to the end, and you have to have like a somber ending, or if something's going to happen at the end and it's all for naught. Whereas in The Beekeeper, Statham's character's a vengeful character had already dealt with the death of someone he cared about. So at that point, it was just like, oh, I'm just going to go fuck up the world, and it doesn't matter because I've already lost somebody I cared about. In this one, it doesn't work that way. He has to kind of like watch his steps, because if he gets caught or is figured out too early, they may kill the girl anyway, or whatever. Or even by the time it gets to the end, like that might become an issue. And that's not even including his own family between the father-in-law and the daughter that he has, which I will say, I enjoyed the fact that they also didn't go through usual tropes with this in terms of kind of film, because usually when you deal with family members or close friends, it's a real easy to go and say, yeah, we're going to get the enemies to discover like where they are, and we're going to kidnap them, we're going to use them for hostages. And so I'm glad that we didn't go down that trope. So if you're worried about that, do not be, because that's not something that happens here. And I'm happy about that, because it's always a tired trope with action films and revenge films in general. So they don't go down that road with this. Yeah, so the acting is good in this. I know I was just off the live stream with Fat Samurai Guy and Rick Myers, and they talked about this film, and there were some people in chat that didn't really like the film. Some liked it, some didn't, but one guy in particular was pretty funny. He really hated it compared to The Beekeeper, which is fine. Entertainment is subjective. But the reality is also, for me, it's just a much better film. It's a much deeper plot, and it has a lot more going for it than Beekeeper. Beekeeper is kind of over the top. Great movie. No matter about it. But this one to me is a little bit better. I like the driving force, and it means that the end hasn't been complete. Because in a revenge film, when you already lose people you care about, at that point, it's just about killing everybody. It doesn't matter how it happens or when. This one, you have to be a little more methodical as you're hunting down and trying to rescue somebody in the process. So it's not quite as clever as Taken. That's sort of the drawback with the film. I've always loved Taken. I loved it the moment I saw it in the theaters, and so I thought that was such a great movie. Now, the sequels didn't care about too much because it was kind of repetitive, but this one, despite having similarities, doesn't totally rip it off, but it does kind of follow that path a little bit. But I do enjoy it a lot. So it's just not as, I don't know if it's quite as rewarding as Taken was, but I do love Ariana Rivas as Jenny Garcia. Like, she's spunky, she's funny, she's quippy. And I knew, even though it was kind of predictable what might happen at the end with her, I did enjoy it. I thought she was a good character, and kind of wish it would have played out a little bit differently with her and the female antagonist, but overall, very good film. Michael Penn is good as always, but he wasn't in there super long, just early scenes. It's kind of like once it's Jason's show, he's off and running and doing his thing. Yeah, I can't really, it's not going to be like, probably, I mean, unless, I doubt it's going to be one of my favorites at the end of the year, but it is good enough for me to rate it a 9. I do really enjoy it. But I don't know if it's going to depend. Of course, we're almost in April now, so I don't know how many movies are going to make. Last year was tough getting, I only got 8 movies that made my top 10 last year, only 8. And we're off to a slow start this year. So it's, unless I get wowed in the next 3 or 4 months, who knows how short that list is going to be. But it's certainly a good 9. If people are curious, I would have given Beekeeper maybe an 8. So it's not like it's far behind. It's still a great film. I just enjoyed this one a bit more than that one, unfortunately. But, it's all subjective. Either way, I recommend going to see it. But, some people will say, because of the way the movie theaters are right now, I went at 1:00 today in the afternoon. And even though it was a Friday and kids are in school and, it's sort of the middle of the day, it was not packed. It wasn't mostly empty either. It had a few people in there, so it wasn't too bad. I don't know. The theaters right now are struggling, but part of that is them kind of doing the self-sabotaging by throwing movies too fast into streaming, or maybe they should have just went to straight to streaming, because that's kind of the new age now, really, where movies just aren't making the kind of money they once were, and especially with the bloated budgets that they're using. So Working Man, I don't think the budget was massively huge or anything, but you can kind of get away with a film like this. But as Rick Myers said, right now horror is a lot easier to draw people in because it's cheaper to make. A lot of young lovers will say, "Hey, I want to be scared out of my mind. Let's go see a scary movie." So it's either to get people in theaters for scary stuff than it is like action or drama or comedies, unless it just happens to hit out of the park. Like the other day when Neko and I and Kevin Lambert reviewed Flow, that animated cat movie, I had never heard of it until I saw it on Max. So, and that won some Oscars. So that just goes to show, like, I didn't even know it was in theaters. I was like, I knew nothing about it. So it's a really great film. But whether or not I would have risked going to the theaters to see it, I don't know. Just because I didn't know much about it. But a lot of times when you run to the theater, it's because you hear people talking about it a lot. Unless it's something that you're just really, really interested. So like last year, when I saw the trailer for Boy Kills World, I told Neko, we're going to go see this because it looks badass. Like, it's just something that I was really interested in. So if you've got me hooked with a trailer, like, again, this movie Ash, I want to see. The same guy that didn't like A Working Man said that movie sucks. So but I don't know if I can trust that. You know what I'm saying? But I want to see Ash because the colors and the aesthetic and everything looks kind of cool. So we'll see. Either way, let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the movie? Have you seen A Working Man? Do you plan on seeing it? What are your thoughts? And hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on the Metal Time Radio Podcast.